Hey everybody, I hope y'all can see and hear me. Let me make sure I'm connected here. Give me just a second. Oh, it's been a long day. It's been a long few days. All right, so I see myself on the YouTube screen. Can y'all see and hear me? Hopefully, I have a decent enough connection. I'm here in my hotel room. It has been so much going on. Okay, looks like I have an excellent connection. Good morning, tea sippers. Good morning, everybody. I know this is early. I don't usually do early live streams, but I do have to, get ready in a bit to head to Minneapolis. So I wanted to get a live out because yesterday, as you guys know, I walked the Brooklyn Bridge. Good morning, Grand Rising. Okay, for all my woke folks, Grand Rising. Okay, because we're not mourning nothing over here, honey. But so I ended up walking to Brooklyn yesterday for a cheesecake. Went all the way to Junior's. I had a good time. Shout out to Sydney for walking with me because y'all know I'm usually rolling solo dolo, so it was nice to have a walking buddy. So when we came back from Brooklyn, we got rained on. Like it was pouring down, raining. That's why I'm glad I bought my jacket. So by the time we got back, I was like, I got to get back to my hotel room because I was like dripping wet. Shoes, everything. So I was like, I got to change. So I went back to my hotel room. He went to the courthouse. And then I was going to go back to the courthouse because they said the jury was coming out with their, potential verdict at the time. So as I'm trying to race and, find a different wig because when I tell I was wet. And I'm trying to like get rechanged and, get back up there. I get a phone call like, yeah, don't even come. They're literally deadlocked. So I was just like, oh, okay. At this point, let me just go ahead, put on my little pajamas, honey, order me some food, and just lay down and take my notes. So that's why I'm doing this live right now. I'm not doing it last night just because I was wet, cold. I took a hot shower, put on my pajamas, put my hair up, you know what I'm saying, in my little bonnet, and I was done for the night. And I don't come on to social media with a bonnet on. I don't do that, okay? So I was like, I was done for the night. So I was like, I'll be back in the morning when I have just everything, together, my thoughts, because it was a lot. It's a lot to take in. So I've written down a lot of notes. So we're just gonna go over everything. Come on in, y'all. We're just gonna talk because we're hoping today is the final deliberation and we'll have a verdict. But at this point, we never know. I would assume that the jury would want to be, home, line dancing, two-stepping, and barbecuing, okay? Don't nobody want to think about Diddy on their 4-day vacation. But, again, we'll have to wait and see because this is something serious. So, let's start by saying this. So, it came back yesterday that basically after they deliberated for 10 hours because people had been at the courthouse all day. A lot of us went back and forth. We'd pop in, see what was cracking. It was just a lot of chaos up there. So for me, I was not going to sit up there for 10 hours. So I was walking and doing my thing around Manhattan. But so after 10 hours, they reached a verdict on 4 of the 5 charges, but they remained deadlocked on the RICO, which is the racketeering and conspiracy count, which we know that is the most egregious count, that carries a life sentence. And I can understand why they're kind of deadlocked on that. Because when you break down what a RICO charge is, and me and BL Sherelle have talked about this on many a podcast, but the racketeering and conspiracy, the whole RICO Act, basically allows prosecutors to charge individuals who lead or participate in a pattern of criminal activity within an enterprise. In the Sean Puffy Combs case, prosecutors are alleging that he used his business empire, referred to as Combs Enterprises, to orchestrate a criminal network involving sex trafficking, coercion, drug distribution, and violence over the past 2 decades. Okay. So I think the reason why the jury is deadlocked on that is because, again, he's done a lot of bad stuff, but was this really a RICO? Was there like really a lot of people involved? You can't compare it to like BMF, right? BMF, that was a straight legitimate RICO. They were drug dealers first. They were moving weight. They were working with the Mexican cartel. And then they built, this whole musical front to cover up the drug organization. So I think for the jury, they're like, well, we all see he's a damn fucking pillhead, crackhead, meth head addict, okay? The man loves a good time. He loves to get high. He's higher than giraffe pussy, okay? So we get that. But was this something big enough to be a RICO where all these people were involved in like moving drugs and moving girls? I think that's where they're kind of deadlocked. He's a terrible individual, but was this really a full, flat out organizational thing? Did all of these people willingly go into this knowing that that's what they were doing? Like when you look at the BMF case, folks knew what the T was. They knew that, okay, if I'm joining BMF, I'm here to sell drugs. I'm here to move drugs around the country. I know what I'm getting into. Well, the average chick at, Bad Boy, you can't necessarily say that because they worked in the office, they knew or they were part of this criminal conspiracy. Because remember, one of the things that they were testifying is that they kept a lot of this on the hush. Cassie didn't want people knowing, this horrible side of her, that was going on, what she was being put through. Remember that when they were booking hotel rooms, they were booking it under different names. So this wasn't something that he was necessarily proud or was, boasting about or wanted the whole office or the whole Bad Boy enterprise to know. This was like their freaky little secret. This was like an industry thing. I believed a lot of people in the industry knew what was going down. Because remember, 50 Cent was saying years ago that there's video of Cassie on tape getting, ran through. So the industry knew the secret, but that doesn't mean that the average receptionist, the average, the person who's making his lunches and stuff like that knew what was going down. So I think that's why they're kind of confused and don't really, they don't really want to turn it into a RICO. Because then you have to say everybody that has ever worked for Bad Boy was also involved in this. And I don't think they've really proven that, in my personal opinion. I don't think they've proven that this is a full-out RICO. When I look at a RICO indictment, I see more like a BMF, where people knew what they were getting into. You're not about to get arrested and boo-hoo and cry and act like you didn't know that you had, 20 pounds of crack cocaine in the back of your car. We're not going to do that, okay? So that's how I feel. But with that being said, they did find, they have come to some type of agreement on the other charges. Okay? So that's the part that's very nerve-wracking for Diddy's team. So let's see here. Just looking through my notes. So these are some possible outcomes that can happen today, right? This is what we're all waiting for. We're waiting with bated breath. So one of the possible outcomes that can happen is that they can come out and finally say, you know what, we have reached a unanimous, I believe that's the word, okay, guilty verdict on the RICO charge. We feel this was an enterprise, lock all they asses up. They could come out with that, right? Or it could be a hung jury on the RICO charge. And if they remain deadlocked, the judge may declare a mistrial for this count, okay? And that means then the prosecution would then decide whether they want to retry, Sean Combs, aka the Diddler, at a later time, okay, for the racketeering. But that's it if it comes back as a hung jury. Now it could be a partial verdict, okay, where the jury could deliver verdicts on 4 charges they have agreed upon. And if he's found guilty on any of these, he could face significant prison time. Up to 20 years for each sex trafficking count, and up to 10 years for each transportation count, okay? I really think what might happen, this is just my personal opinion, okay? I don't think there's enough for the RICO. And I could be wrong, okay? I'm not no damn lawyer. I'm just, influencer out here, covering the trial, understanding what's going on. But I don't feel like they have enough for a RICO. But again, if they feel like they do and they want to charge him with it, then so be it, right? I think what's more likely to happen, in my personal opinion, is a partial verdict. I'm thinking that's what may happen. Because they have a lot of other evidence to find him guilty on something, okay? Let me turn the air on real quick. It's hot in here. Excuse me, y'all. Excuse me. It just got super duper hot. Okay. Let me turn the air on. Okay, I'm back. So, once you turn on lights and all that stuff, let me see. Do I have my little, let me check and see if I bought my little mini gavel, honey. Okay, do I have it? Because I thought I packed it. You might have to do a few objections in this bitch. Ah! Would you look at that? Looky, looky. I got my little travel size one, okay? So, objection. I was like, I hope I didn't forget it. So, okay. I think it may just be the partial verdict is what I'm leaning towards. But again, we never know. Everything is on the jury. And, even like when I was talking to Tisa, I feel like either way, let's just say he's found not guilty. That's going to set a precedence. That's going to let a lot of people in this industry feel like they are untouchable and they can get away with doing anything, right? If he's found guilty, that's going to set a precedence because that's going to let you know that even no matter how big you think you are, you can be taken down. It's a lot of emotions, I will say, with this case. I'm going to keep it real. It's a lot of emotions with this case. Even down there at the courthouse, you had people who really feel like free Diddy. He should not be locked up. They are trying to take down a black man. They are trying to ruin a black man's image. He's put in work over the past 30 years. This is not okay. So there's a lot of free Diddy supporters down there. Don't get it twisted. Then you have people who are very pro lock his ass up, throw away the key. We don't give a damn. We don't want to hear nothing. He abused Cassie. She's a sweet girl. You know what I mean? So it gets very emotional at times, especially when people start arguing out there and going back and forth. I don't get into those type of debates, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, bitch, objection. I'm not wasting all my energy arguing with folks back and forth in the damn courtyard when at the end of the day, it is the jury's job to be the judge, jury, and executioner. It's not my job. All I can do is state my opinion, but I'm not doing no back and forth with people. You know what I mean? But you do have a lot of people who feel like Diddy should not be locked up. You have a lot of black men who feel a way about this. They feel like this is a case of them taking down a wealthy, successful black man. And not all, right? You have some black men who are like, no, what he did is wrong, this and that. But what I've noticed is that a lot of energy has changed in the industry. Even a lot of the people who have been speaking out on Diddy for years. It's almost like some of them are very nervous. And I don't think any of these people thought it would get this far. I think a lot of the people who had been, talking about Diddy for years, and I know I've been one of those people, I've always felt, just from the outside looking in, right? Because I've never worked with Diddy. I've never personally met Diddy. But on the outside looking in, it was always something about his spirit that I did not like. I didn't like how he treated people. And I didn't know the extent of all this shit with Cassie. I'm learning that just like y'all are learning that. But it was always because, again, I grew up, I'm a 90s kid. I grew up with the Puffy era and the shiny shoots and the, more money, more problems. You know what I mean? We rooted for him. You got your PhD, player hating degree. That's what PhD stood for back in the day. Player hated degree. I was a big Mace fan. So when I tell you like Bad Boy is the soundtrack of my life, it really is. And I watched this man over the years just treat people who look like himself horribly. Shitty contracts. Where's Total today? Struggling. You know what I'm saying? Look how he did Mace. Look how he did so many, Carl Thomas. Black Rob. I mean, the list goes on. The band. We were hooked to that show, 112. We were hooked on the band. We watched this, Audrey O'Day, Danity Kane. Like these were the shows that we watched. So when I tell you, we really looked up to Diddy. Like the Diddys and the Jay-Z's, they were brought to us as children, as people to look up to exemplify. That's black excellence. That's who you should want to be. Be rich and get up out the hood. So for a lot of us, Craig Mack, thank you. Day 26, thank you. Y'all are naming the names. For a lot of us, it's very emotional for us to watch this. I don't think anybody thought it would get that far. And nobody thought that he was that bad of a person, right? Like, I always thought he was a shitty person as far as business and greed and stuff like that. You know, putting Mace's music, you know, the credits, how you can get your residuals, putting the shit under Justin's name when Justin was a baby. So that way these people don't even get their royalties. That is insane to me. That is greed. That is just nonsense. Biggie, you know, his family, his daughter a few years ago crying on social media, just wanting to go to the concert. You're literally here because of Biggie. She should be your right hand. You know what I mean? You should be looking out for her like anybody else's kid, right? So, I get the emotions. I get the disappointment. I get how people are just very upset in the community because, again, it's almost like they say, never meet your heroes. You know what I'm saying? Like, never meet your heroes. I would have had no idea that any of this was going on. And that's why I said Cassie was the perfect victim. I don't care what anybody says. The reason why it went this far is because of who Cassie is. Cassie's quiet. She's racially ambiguous. She was never involved in anything. I've never even heard Cassie really talk until this trial. I just never really checked for her like that. I know she had the song Me and You, and I love that song, but like you didn't really see too much from Cassie. So when Cassie sued, and he knew this was coming down the pipeline. He knew this. Yep, Sherry Dennis. People are writing so many names in the chat. He knew this was coming down the pipeline, right? Remember, he was at the BET Awards, you know, thanking Cassie. Meanwhile, Carisha's there holding a sign up talking about Go Poppy. Totally ignored her thirsty ass and was thanking Cassie. So he knew all of this was going on behind the scenes. But again, being on drugs, thinking you're untouchable, moving with ego, and then playing with God. Like I tell y'all all the time, objection! God will not be mocked. I tell y'all that all the time. God will not be mocked. Changing your name to Brother Love but acting like a fucking devil behind the scenes. You don't do that. At any point in time when they was first hitting him with that lawsuit behind the scenes, he could have paid it. We wouldn't even be here today. But again, the arrogance of thinking that I've been in the game for 30 years and I can keep doing what I'm doing. I can keep moving how I'm moving. But see, what he forgot is he does not have the skin tone, the complexion for protection. He forgot at the end of the day, you're a black man. Hugh Hefner can get away with that shit and take it to the grave. What's his name? The one that's acting like he's senile now, Clive Davis. Out here, huh? Puffy, I don't even, who? I can't hear, I can't see. Who's Puffy? Who? See, now he gets to just play crazy. But he's the one who taught him these devious ways. Okay? He does not have the complexion for protection. And he thought that he did. He thought that because he was at the time, a billionaire black man, that he could move how these white men move. And for y'all who keep coming in my chat saying, oh, Harvey Weinstein's in court. Why aren't you covering Harvey Weinstein? Let me explain something to you, bitch. I was one of the first black people on YouTube dragging Harvey Weinstein by his nuts, okay? I'm an equal opportunity dragger because right is right, wrong is wrong. So I don't know if you just got here, but I've been clocking Harvey Weinstein's tea. But guess what? We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We're not talking about Harvey Weinstein. Not worried about what he got going on right now. We're talking about Diddy. So if you want to know about what's going on with Harvey Weinstein, go find a live streamer who's talking about Harvey Weinstein. Right now we're focused on Diddy. So quit coming in my chat talking about, what about Harvey Weinstein? What about him? Okay? So let's go ahead and clock that real quick. We're talking about Diddy. That's the problem. We never want to, like, hold our own accountable for the messed up things that they do. And this is why we are here today. Because we allow people to treat folks any type of way, and then we excuse it because they have a bag, because they're famous, because they have influence. My thing is, if you came into the industry under messed up circumstances, right? You got your contract under messed up circumstances. You know, they made you, I don't know, child. They done rammed it up your ass. They just sucked 50 executives' peens. And you know how messed up and how traumatizing that was? Why would you then do it to another? Why would you put another human being through the same trauma that you went through? And again, I'm not saying that Diddy did this. This is not what he's on trial for. I'm just speaking in general. But something happened. Let's not forget, day 26, grown-ass men now, right? We watch them as young men trying out for making it the band, making it. Look how they all broke down crying in that Vlad TV interview. Those are grown men. Not one of them cried, they all cried for their brother Q. So you can't tell me something sinister was not going on at Bad Boy. What I also find very interesting, like I said, a lot of the people who've been talking, who were close to Diddy, who worked for Diddy, the one bodyguard said if he gets out, he's leaving the country. Aubrey O'Day said she's leaving the country. You know, a lot of them are feeling like, damn, I didn't know it could get this deep. Well, it did, and it is. It is. It's sad. Let me go ahead and pull up some more of my notes here. So what they're saying right now, there are potential sentences for each of these charges. So sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. And this carries a mandatory minimum of a 15-year sentence and a maximum of life in prison. Transportation for purpose of prostitution. Each count under this charge carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. So a conviction on a single sex trafficking count will result in at least 15 years in prison, while a conviction on the transportation count could lead up to 10 years, okay? So right now the jury has reached a verdict on 4 of the 5 charges. Remember, they're deadlocked on the RICO, but 4 of the 5 charges, they've reached some type of decision. But right now, we don't know if that decision is guilty or not guilty, but honestly, y'all, I am leaning towards guilty. Because the charges that they have basically came to the conclusion on, those are all of the sex trafficking and transportation. And there's plenty of evidence for that. There is. So basically now, if he's convicted on any of this, he does face a substantial prison time. So that part's going to be crazy. Like he just needs to be convicted on one thing. Even if one of those stick. This man is in his, mid to late 50s, if I'm not mistaken. So even if one of these charges stick, you're talking about somebody getting, let's just say, a 20-year sentence. That's still a death sentence when you're old. This isn't, he's not a spring chicken. He's not going in there as a teenager. Thank you, he's 55. So another 20 years? 75. So, yeah, it's I'm sure he will appeal. They're all appealing, right? Hell, even Harvey Weinstein is appealing. But even still. The main thing I believe that they're going to be able to get him on is the Mann Act. Okay? Please hit a like if you're liking this live stream. Hit a like so more people can come up in here. We're doing an early live. The Mann Act is flying or driving interstate transfer of prostitution. Okay? Now, a lot of these men, a lot of the male escorts will come out and brag and say, oh, he wasn't pimping me out. I wasn't his prostitute. This is my job. I'm a male escort. Well, maybe you may feel that way, but, per the law doesn't care about your feelings and what you believe if you were trafficked or not. The fact that several male prostitutes were paid in different states, and they have the receipts for it. That is a part of the Mann Act. Okay? Cassie was pimped out in this industry. This was an industry joke. This was talked about in the industry. Yes, a lot of us in the public didn't know this, right? But a lot of people in the industry did. Hence that whole 50 Cent thing I said earlier. And so when you're having her go from hotel room to hotel room, from LA to New York to, overseas, wherever, that is all a part of the Mann Act. And just because the said person is your so-called girlfriend, that doesn't mean anything. And you also have to realize too, when he got with Cassie, she was extremely young. This is the only reason why I really give Cassie some grace, because he got with her very young. And when you are young and you don't have good guidance around you, because can we have a real conversation? And y'all might get offended by this, but y'all know I don't give a fuck. I don't really respect Cassie's parents either. I don't think people are ready for that conversation. To me, Cassie's parents are no different than the R. Kelly parents. Because there's no way in hell, if I had an 18, 19-year-old daughter, because remember, before she ever got with Diddy, can we have a real conversation here? Because when I really sit back and I look at the Cassie situation, the grooming didn't start with Diddy. Okay? Cassie was in the modeling world from the time she was 13, 14 years old. Can we talk about it? She was a model as a teenager. Okay? And one thing we've learned about the modeling industry, because y'all have seen my body. I have a model type body. And I used to model when I was younger. I didn't get all the big gigs, and I thank God, because sometimes rejection is protection. As much as I wanted a big modeling career and to move to New York and live in a penthouse and walk runways, I thank God. Objection, I thank God he led my life in a different direction. Okay? I really think that Cassie had been groomed via the modeling industry, the modeling pipeline. Let's not forget, okay, the Abercrombie and Fitch men who were arrested and all the nonsense and deviant, disgusting acts that they were doing to their models. So this is deeper than Diddy. We're talking about a celebrity industry, music, modeling, acting, television, that preys on people, that preys on the innocents. When we were children, we were taught that to make it, you're on TV. You're a model, you're a singer, you're an actor. So when you're young, you're going into this innocent. You just want to see yourself on the cover of Vogue or Teen Magazine. You're not thinking you might have to possibly suck somebody's peen. So I believe, like I was saying, a lot of people felt Cassie. Before she ever became a victim of Diddy, I believe they had her doing some strange things for some change in the modeling industry. And let's also not forget her first boyfriend was her first official boyfriend to the public was Ryan Leslie. They're not the same age. Let's not forget Ryan Leslie was a grown man too when he was with Cassie. So I got to ask myself, where were the parents? Why are you so okay with your daughter, your teen daughter, being around and having access around grown men? Okay? Remember how Diddy met Cassie? He took Cassie from Ryan Leslie. So at that point, I'm going to be looking at my young daughter like, what are you doing? How are you leaving your man that you've been with for set amount of years and now you're dating the boss? And the boss is my age? again, I'm not a knocker of age gap relationships, right? But when you add wealth, power, and prestige, that definitely changes the dynamics. And when you're talking about up to a 30, 40-year age gap, come on now. Come on now. Exactly. Kimora Lee and Russell Simmons. And remember, I've called out Kimora Lee's mama. You know, Kimora Lee's up here crying tattooed tears about how she didn't even get to go to prom because she was hooked up with Russell at 16. See, some of these parents are okay pimping out their kids depending on the man. Okay? People want to act like parents if the man is a 30-year-old who works at Bojangles. And yes, objection! The Bojangles fried cook is always going to catch us straight on my channel. I don't give a damn. Shout out to all my fried cooks out there. I love y'all, okay? He will always, forever catch us straight. Okay, I know it's bright and early. Look, Christy G said, not tea, snapping bright and early. Yes, honey. I feel the spirit and I'm going to go in. A lot of these parents will become parents and not co-sign fuckery depending on the man's status. But let the man be an NBA baller. Kobe Bryant dating 16-year-old Vanessa. Remember, I did a whole breakdown on their relationship. So y'all can't ever say I'm biased. I done breakdowns on everybody. Women, men, black, white, gay, straight. Remember, Asia Argento fucking that 17-year-old boy but got the nerve to be trying to be a part of the Me Too movement. No, bitch. Out. You're out of there. You can't be a part of Me Too and you're fucking 17-year-olds. Notice she's been very quiet. So again, there's no bias here. I hold everybody accountable. But a lot of parents will look the other way if that man is successful, if he's rich, and if it can benefit the parents. That's why I have no respect for any of those R. Kelly parents. For years, y'all know that whole situation with R. Kelly and Aaliyah went down. This man went to trial for pissing on a 14-year-old, but you had no problem bringing your daughter to R. Kelly for a record deal. And then now you're mad that your daughter is infatuated with the man who tapped into her before her brain was able to develop. It is your job as a parent to protect your child. Point blank, period. That is your job. So for me, when I see stuff like this, I got to give the parents the side eye. So I'm going to hold Cassie's parents accountable. Because again, they were just as infatuated and okay with the lifestyle until they saw how dark that lifestyle could get. And you know why I know that Diddy knew what he was doing was wrong? Let's talk about it. Wasn't it like 2 years ago he was on the Breakfast Club? And what did he say when Charlamagne asked him? Because remember, he was dating Carisha at the time. At the time, Carisha was about 28. You know, she grown. Frontal lobe is fully developed. Do you, right? So he's like, you know, I just like dating younger women and this and that. And Charlamagne asked them, yeah, you know, 18 is a legal age. Would you allow your daughters to date, you know, a man your age? Oh, he shut that shit down. Objection. No, not my daughters. My daughters would never. So isn't it funny that when it comes to his daughters, he has 3 of them, beautiful girls. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander. What makes your daughters any more special? What makes their coochie worth gold when you don't care about other people's daughters? Why are your daughters above sucking peen for hours and hours to the point where they get all types of just damage to their throat? Why are they above contracting herpes and all types of shit because they've been ran through by so many men? Why is that okay for other people's daughters? Oh, he has 4. I'm sorry, I be forgetting about the little Asian baby. I don't even want to put that. She's too young. I don't want to put her in the conversation. So let's take her out the equation. That's a 4-year-old. His daughters now are of age. Remember, 18 is legal. So I just want to talk about the kids who are 18, right? Because 18 is legal, you know. So I don't want to think about a 4-year-old in that position, but I don't know how old she is. So the Asian baby aside, I'm talking about the legal daughters. You know, and that's the part I don't respect with a lot of these men, industry or not, is that imagine if a lot of men treated other men's daughters, mothers, sisters with the same reverence that they have for their own children. Because see, when you do women wrong, when you do people wrong, especially women, right? And you're a player and you're cheating and you're doing all this bullshit that, you know, some men love to engage in, understand the same tears that woman is crying is going to be the same tears that you'll be wiping off your daughter's face. Understand that. Because karma always spins the block. And there's a such thing as sins of a father. So understand how you do other people's daughters. The same can be done to your own daughters as well. Your daughters are not above, you know, beyond reproach. I don't care how much you try to shelter them. I think a lot of people need to really start thinking like that. A lot of folks just think with their own selfish needs and their own instant gratification, and they treat sex as a commodity and just, you know, just willy-nilly, I'm gonna fuck this chick, fuck that chick, and, you know, there's no consequences. Oh, karma, the cosmos, God, it never sleeps. Understand how you treat people can not only come back to be your own karma, but your children's. Because now we're seeing his own sons have now been, they're now in their own lawsuits. They've now been sued for alleged sexual assault and alleged rapes. So, you know, it's sad. This whole situation is very sad what's going on. But there are consequences for actions. There just are. Let me see, I took down some other notes here. So another thing, a lot of people have been talking about the distribution. That's been a lot of, like, you know, the back and forth. And I think, you know, a lot of us, you know, unless you're like into criminal activity or drug dealer, we don't really understand that there's different laws. I know when I came into this, I kind of felt like distribution was, you know, the distributing of drugs and there's money involved. Like you're moving weight. You know, I have a package of, you know, weed. I have a QP and I'm trying to sell that to you. That would be a distribution. But from what I've learned during this case, distribution can be something as simple as handing somebody over a pill. And in the eyes of the law, you are a dealer, even if you're not receiving payment. Okay? So in the distribution of the drugs, that would be where the racketeering would exist. That would be a part of the RICO. One thing I can say is that Diddy is very much a drug addict. And one thing I know about people who do drugs all the time, who drink like fish, and I'm not saying occasionally, you know, if you want to smoke a blunt here and there, do you. If you want to pop a pill here and there, do you. If you want to, you know, drink a drink on occasion, do you. But when it's every fucking day, when you got to get high every day, when you got to wake up and before you roll out the bed, you got to roll a blunt and smoke weed every fucking day, you're an addict. If you got to pop pills every damn day, you're an addict. And I think people have like glorified addiction so much on social media that people don't even see it as an addiction anymore. Because the songs and I'm sipping lean and I'm popping pills and perks, you're an addict and you're no better than a crackhead. Remember Whitney Houston was like, crack is whack. Okay, yeah, you're not smoking crack, but how is cocaine any better? If it's fucking up if you can't even function without that drug, you're an addict. I don't care if it's weed. I don't care if it's alcohol. You're an addict. I don't care if it's food. You're a gluttonous addict. I don't care if it's porn. You're an addict. If it's social media, you're an addict. We all can be addicted to anything. That's just the truth of the matter. But a lot of people try and look down on other people and be like, well, I'm not an addict. I'm not out here smoking a crack pipe. Shit, I can't tell. All the drugs this man was using is insane. There were drugs that the judge could not even pronounce. Do y'all understand how bad that is? The judge is literally listing off, and I'm trying to write it down. Lord knows I can't spell any of the shit he's saying. I'm just trying to take my notes. I'm like, wait, what? What the hell is that? And they got to the point where the judge was like, I don't even know how to pronounce this drug. Come on now. Objection. The judge cannot even pronounce the name of the drug. That is insane to me. And you know what that tells me? When you got to use so many drugs throughout the day to the point where the judge over, seeing your case cannot even pronounce some of these names, you're fighting demons. You're fighting demons. That's exactly what's going on. You got to stay high, drunk, because you know you're not doing the right thing. And you don't want to be sober because being sober is reminding you of all the fucked up shit that you're doing. The cheating, the drug abuse, putting hands on women. That's why you stay drunk, high, and everything else. Because people who aren't engaged in that nonsense, they can face their demons. They can look in the mirror. And it got to the point where Cassie also knew what she was doing was fucked up. Because all she wanted to do was do drugs and stay, get high after a while. She'd be begging him for drugs after a while. Well, yeah, if you're having to sell your body and engage in freak outs like a full-time job, eventually, yeah, you're going to need the drugs to ignore all the demons and the intrusive voices in your head. Same thing with Jane Doe. She ended up getting heavily into drugs too, messing with this man. So, again, distribution can be as simple as handing somebody the drug. That's what I learned coming to this courthouse. Something as simple as that. No money has to be exchanged. Just handing somebody a pill. And not only did he give Cassie drugs, he gave many of those sex workers drugs too. Remember, some of them were like, I can't fuck no more. Damn, got a lip dick. And he'd be like, it's okay. Here goes some Cialis. Here goes some Viagra. Here goes some this and that. Get it back up and get back in her. So yeah, very disturbing stuff. Very disturbing stuff. Now, one of the things that I do find very interesting is that Mark Agnifilo, his defense attorney, the head defense attorney, he keeps saying, this isn't a case of RICO and, sex trafficking. Forget all of that. This is just a man who's, this was a domestic violence situation. It was wrong. He put, hands on her. We know that's wrong. But, that's really all this was. And no, it wasn't. You can't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. You just can't do that. It's deeper than just this being a domestic violence situation. It's deeper than him just being a shitty boyfriend. Not being a real protector of the women that he claimed to love. I'm not going to ignore all these other facts. Her black eyes aside, her busted lip aside, this was a man that was bringing her across state lines to engage in his weird fantasies. This was a man that enjoyed people banging her until she got numerous BVs, all types of infections, and everything else. Another thing, I found very interesting is that the jury came out and they said that they wanted to see the testimony once again of Cassie Ventura and Daniel Phillips. If you guys remember, Daniel Phillips was the sex worker, right? So they wanted to see their testimony again. Out of all the testimonies, they wanted to compare notes. So to me, what that means is that the notes that they were trying to compare between the escort Daniel Phillips and Cassie, especially when you're talking about the RICO and the drug distribution, which would be part of that RICO, is remember during Daniel's testimony, he stated that at one point in time, he walked in and he saw Cassie completely passed out and slumped over. And Diddy still wanted him to diddle. Well, if you remember, you can't give consent when you're out of it. When you're inebriated, passed out, drunk, high, you can't give consent. So the fact that they want to go back over his testimony, that part always stood out to me. And then on top of that, remember, he even said during his testimony that the reason why he just couldn't get with them anymore, like, continue this whole sexual thing, is because he had witnessed Diddy putting hands on Cassie. He threw a liquor bottle at her, beat her up in front of him, and he, as a grown man, was too scared to do anything. He felt like if he would have called the cops or tried to intervene, what could Diddy do to him? This is a powerful man. But he said it got to the point where Diddy would just put hands on Cassie that he couldn't even get it up. Because who wants to witness that type of abuse and then you turn around and you're told to sleep with the same woman who just got punched in the face? And Diddy would be like, here, take a Viagra, pop this pill, get it up. If you don't get it up and F her, you're not getting paid. And because we worship money over humanity, and because people have bills to pay, and if that's all you know is to sell dick, you're going to get it up and you're going to do what your boss tells you. Because at that point in time, Diddy was his boss. Diddy was his employer. Diddy held that paycheck over his head. But y'all want to keep saying he wasn't pimping. I know it sounds, most men would not admit that. There's that male ego. That you got to be like, I'm a sex worker. Ain't nobody pimping me. I wasn't no prostitute. I wasn't being trafficked. Yes, you were, beloved. Yes, you were. I know you guys are big and buff and handsome, but you were being pimped. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You were being drained by an energy vampire. You were being drained by a demonic narcissist. You just don't see yourself as a victim because in our society, men can't be victims. Because again, these men signed up, right, to sell peen. Not knocking it. Bitches do it all the time on OnlyFans. Right? Not knocking sex work. You get it how get it how you live. But there's a difference between when I'm coming to a situation, I'm just simply here to sling dick. Nothing else, nothing less. But now I'm walking into a situation where I have to watch you put hands on a woman and then perform. Well, damn, that wasn't a part of my contract. I don't want to watch somebody get beat up and then have to perform. That's still in my subconscious. I got to take all these drugs just to perform? Or you got to sit in the corner and watch like a fucking creep? So a lot of these men, that wasn't what they necessarily signed up for. But when money is your God, you're going to do what you have to do. Unfortunately. And you can tell that he's one of those sex workers with a conscience, because he was one of the few that was willing to come out and testify. And he felt bad. Hence why he stopped during the freak-offs with Cassie and them. There was another sex worker, the Punisher. He said that he thought he was the only one. He had no idea that Diddy was hiring so many different men to engage in all of this stuff with Cassie. He thought this was just a him, Diddy, and Cassie thing. So imagine how many other ones thought that as well. Like, okay, this is just their little freaky thing. I'm just going to gauge for a while. It is what it is. Only to find out, like, oh no, it was a lot of men running in and out of her. So let me read a few of these super chats here. Oh, we got over 6,000 people. Good morning, everybody. I know I'm on here early. Appreciate y'all for coming here. I didn't get to do a stream yesterday just because I got rained on. There was a lot going on yesterday. So I was like, nope, I'm doing a stream today. We're going to talk before the jury hands down their verdict. Will it be guilty? Will it be not guilty? I don't know. But I'm just giving my opinion right now on what I think is going to happen. So I hope you guys are enjoying this stream. Good morning, Grand Rising. All of that stuff. Please hit the like button if you guys are enjoying this stream, please. So let me go ahead and just read some of these super chats here. Miss AB says, good morning. That rain yesterday was no joke. Glad you got your cheesecake. I think it's similar to the R. Kelly case. Many people helped him with doing bad things. Good luck at him nonetheless. Good day. Thank you so much. Yeah, the rain, like literally, it just came pouring down once we got to the middle of the Brooklyn Bridge. So that was crazy, but you know, I made it back safe. I had to dry off. So thank you so much for the super chat. Let's see here. Blue says, good morning, T. Have a wonderful day at court. You look beautiful as always. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, sis. Mandarins91 sent $10. Hey, sis. She says, I don't think he will get charged with the RICO. I think he'll be charged for the drugs, the abuse and such, but that doesn't carry as much time. He may also pay money and do a plea deal. All right. Well, thank you so much, sis, for that. Thank you for the super chat as well. Zay Madison, $4.99 said, what's up, T? Do you think the feds will go after his sons one day? Hey, Zay, thank you so much for the super chat. They may. I think what has happened with a lot of these lawsuits is that initially, you know, they're filed civilly, right? A lot of people always say, well, why are they always going after a bag? Why aren't they filing this criminally? Because a lot of this stuff had been, you know, past the statute of limitations. But a lot of states, especially New York, decided to extend it. Because a lot of things happen to people when they're younger. And when you're young, you're not the same person when you're young as when you get older. A lot of times you don't even realize that you were sexually assaulted, sexually abused until you get older and things start to click. So I'm really glad that they did expand that, you know what I'm saying, to help victims of abuse and things like that. So I think hence a lot of these cases started out civilly, but you know, everybody's reading these cases, right? Not just YouTubers and the news organizations, but the feds. And as they're reading this, they're like, oh, shit. This is a charge. This is a charge. This is a RICO. This is trafficking. So if his boys who move like him, you know, they got money. They're young, rich, and fly. You know, they're on these trips. They're going on yachts with their daddy. So if the feds start digging and they find out like, hey, this, you know, rape, whatever, because, you know, it's hard for us to say the words on YouTube, happened in Saint-Tropez or, you know, in Cali, in New York, that could be a cause. If more girls come out who are telling the truth and who have receipts. I'm so tired of all these clout chasing weirdos who are, you know, just mixing up cases like we had in the R. Kelly situation. We had the real victims, and you had all these stupid ass clout chasers like Faith Evans. I mean, not Faith Evans, Faith Rogers, excuse me. Faith Evans is Diddy's people. But that's what I hate, is the clout chasers who come and they basically dilute situations. But if more girls come out and they really have receipts and they're true victims, the feds could very much get involved. So again, it's just a waiting game. But thank you for the super chat, love. Let's see here. Ivy's Flow sent $1.99, says he looks like his mom drank and smoked with him during her whole pregnancy. Oh my gosh, y'all are a mess. Thank you for the super chat. Miss AB says, hurt people unfortunately hurt people. That is the truth. That is the truth. And this is why we need to start letting all you hurt men and women, y'all need to go get therapy and counseling. Instead of hurting others by cheating and being just pieces of shit and raping people and, putting young people onto drugs and alcohol, how about you go get counseling for your hurt? I think we need to really promote that. Because you have a lot of people who grew up in foster care or who were abused and abandoned by their parents and molested or just whatever. We've all been through shit in life. But that doesn't give you the right to ruin somebody else's life because your childhood wasn't shit. Okay? Because you're fighting demons. Don't bring your demons my way. Go get some healing, bitch. Objection. Take your ass to counseling. Go get some therapy. Bitch, go get some healing. Okay? And stop bringing your demons to disrupt other people's lives. We need to really promote that in the community. I'm so tired of unhealed people's fucked up sons messing up people's lives. Go to counseling, bitch. Child. Don't get me started, honey. Y'all know when I feel the spirit, I'm going to go in. All these fucking unhealed ass people ruining other people's lives, molesting children and some more shit. It's just weird. Go get some therapy. I've been through so much shit in my life. But guess what? I go to therapy. I'm not about to be sitting here leading young people astray and leading young people wrong. That's insane to me. Thank you for the super chat, ma'am. Let's see here. Don Dusty said $9.99 says if he's found guilty of the RICO, won't they seize his assets? I hope he has the money to appeal. They may. I don't really know how that goes as far as assets and seizures. So I don't want to really speak on that. But they may, and plus he's going to have to pay them lawyers. I mean, this whole case is not cheap. So they may seize his assets just to pay off his debts to the courts. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But thank you for the super chat, love. Dante sent $4.99. He says, hey, T, just wanted to say that I loved your coverage of everything over the years. Been rocking with you since middle school. Keep on shining. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for the love and support. I've met so many wonderful people, just out here, and people who have just stopped me and just thanked me for being in their life. You know what I'm saying? 8, 9, 10 plus years and just doing what I do. I've been at this for a long time and just, being me, keeping my integrity. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate y'all's support. Thank you. APS. What's up, APS? Says, hey, T, thank you for mentioning Cassie's parents. They're the first ones to get blamed. They're the first ones to get blamed for. Honey, Blocky Anna won't be ready for this conversation. Thank you so much for the super chat, love. Yeah. I think if we're going to have real conversations, there's a lot of nuances, right, to this whole case. And I want to hit on all those nuances. Because it's easy to just be like, Diddy, 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 Diddy. You know what I mean? That's the easy thing. But it goes even deeper than Diddy. This is an institution. When I say the industry, right? Hollywood, the music industry, modeling, all that stuff. That has been built on predator and prey. Literally. You have people in positions who are preying on other people. And it's frightening. It really is. Let me check and see if there's any updates here. Give me just a second. I'm just refreshing, see if there's any updates yet. Oh, why is this clocking? Hold on. Okay. Nothing yet. Okay, let me read some more super chats here. Valerie Moses says, hey, T, Per usual, you look amazing. I will catch the playback. Everyone hit the like button. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Please hit the like button. Yeah, we got over 6,000 people in here, but I only see 2,000 likes. The math is not mathing. Objection. Please hit that like button. Okay? Thank y'all. Let's see here. Aaron says, hey, Auntie, watching your live at work. I know that's right. Thank you, Aaron. Jay Campbell says, I think he was touched at that Catholic school he went to as a child. Then he had to do something to get startup money for Bad Boy. You never know. Like I said, I did a 4-part deep dive. That whole situation goes deep. It goes very, very deep. Even Biggie went to Catholic school too, honey. Y'all, them lyrics, very suspect. When you're a kid, you don't get it. But when you're an adult and you listen to some stuff that Biggie said, it's like, wait, fuck a kid in the ass and throw him off a bridge? What the fuck? You would fuck RuPaul before them ugly escape bitches? Like, wait, what? So a lot of sus stuff was going on at Bad Boy. I'm going to just say that. You know what I mean? But thank you for the super chat, love. Hopefully I pronounced this right. Trevalent. I hope I said it right. I said 1999 says, finally able to catch you live. Tell them like it is, T. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for the super chat, love. Thank you. Okay, Kita. Kita sent $100 super chat. Thank you so much, Kita, for the love and support. I really appreciate you, sis. Thank you so much. Let's see here. Alita Diary sent $49.99. Thank you so much, Alita. She says, thank you for going to NYC and going live for us. Definitely. Thank you guys so much for just always supporting what I do. I appreciate that. Lisa Ling says, I was molested as a child by relatives, and it didn't click for me that I was molested until I was 30. Wow. I'm very sorry to hear that. I wish you peace. But yeah, that's why I don't disagree with them allowing the expansion of that, expanding the molestation and rape, like not having a statute of limitations. Because for a lot of people, you don't realize stuff that's going on when you're a kid. It's not until you get older, that you realize, like, damn, that was some fucked up shit I went through, And the things that the situations that adults would put you in, it's insane. So I'm really sorry that you went through that. But yeah, I'm glad. Like I said, if people are real victims, definitely go out there, file your lawsuits, state your claim. But just don't do it if you're not. Don't do that shit. Don't do that clout chasing shit. Because we have enough real victims out here whose childhoods have been ruined. We don't need people making up stories. The lady that said that Jay-Z did something to her. Anyways. Let's see here. Nate Schmidt sent 5, says, hey T, I feel really bad for his daughters that they had to hear all the nonsense in the courtroom. I mean, I think it's unfortunate for all of them, right? The daughters and the sons. I'd be embarrassed to even see all of this. But again, he put his children in that position to have to come to court because they're only there to, help support their father. They already lost a mother, so they're there to support the father, but it's his fault that they're even having to endure that, And it's hard seeing that when they're in there. Sometimes I watch them. I like to watch what folks are doing. A lot of times they'll be doodling or they'll be writing notes to each other. I call them the triplet because, hell, they were all born in the same damn year. He had 2 girls pregnant at the same damn time. Okay, so I could just call them the triplets. But usually the triplet is in the middle, and each twin is on either side of the triplet, Chance. And so Chance is usually doodling or drawing something, then she'll pass it to this twin, and that twin will write something, then they'll pass it to the other twin, and that, you know what I mean? And then every now and then they'll like nudge Tristan Christian. I'm gonna get that boy's name right one day. He looks like a Tristan to me. That's why I don't know, but it's Christian. Then every now and then they'll nudge him and show him whatever they've written and stuff, and it just lets me know, like, at the end of the day, they're siblings, they're young people. Then it has to be hard for them. Because, hell, I be in there bored. Shit. about the damn nod off. So they're just doing what they can to occupy the time. So it's a lot. You're in there taking notes, you're listening to all this degenerate shit. It's a lot. It's very draining. And then at times it's just damn boring because you're just listening to just a lot of legal stuff. So the fact that I think Christian has been there, I think Christian and Justin have been there every day. I know there are times the twins and the triplet doesn't come, and then Quincy has missed some times. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Christian and Justin have been there every day. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to process. So I don't fault them for just being, kids and doodling and drawing and, passing each other notes and stuff like that to pass the time. And then, at times you just see the human side where, during certain, I know last week they were crying in court. There's times where I've seen Christian, lay his head on his aunt's shoulder, and it's just, I can only imagine what they're thinking. It's a lot. It's a lot going on. Let me refresh and see if there's any updates here. It's 10 o'clock. Okay, no updates yet. I'm checking. There's no updates. Somebody was in there yelling there's been a verdict. Ain't been shit. There's no verdict. I'm refreshing. I'm not seeing it yet. There is? Let me look again. Let me see. Well, I'm seeing it saying they're still deliberating. Yeah, I'm seeing it's still under deliberation. Yeah, they're still deliberating. Okay. I'm not going to be on here long anyways. But I'm going to do my live stream. I want to do, because I didn't get to do one yesterday, so that's why I'm doing one this morning. It didn't make any sense to be at the courthouse at 5 a.m. They're not going to be giving a verdict at 5 a.m. Let me see here. Karina Sim 499 says, thank you for going live, sending love from your favorite Minnesotan. Thank you so much. Minnesota in the house. Hey. Thank you, sis. Taya Chappelle sent $10, says 10 in the collection plate. Preach. Go get therapy. Please tell these people, sis, love you. Love you too, and thank you so much for the super chat, sis. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Keisha R sent $9.99, says, hey auntie, much love. I love watching the live. Much love from the UK. Definitely. Thank you so much, sis. Darius Carter sent $4.99, says, growing up as a kid, we were taught to look up to Puff. Never thought I'd see a day like this. Not sure how I feel with either verdict. Yeah, I feel the same way. And that's why I said this is very emotional. It's very, very emotional for a lot of people. Because, yeah, we were taught to look up to the Puffs and the Jay-Z's and the Oprahs and all that stuff, So it's very sad. Mary Mo sent $4.99, says, hello T, you look beautiful as always. I enjoy your perspective on all topics. Stay safe. God bless. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, sis. Thank you. Okay. They said Tisa ended her live. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to leave. But before I go here, this is one other thing I want to state before I leave, because I've been on here for an hour. The jury cannot consider any type of punishment when deciding guilty. So I know a lot of people are feeling like they're holding off because, they feel like if they find him guilty on the RICO, then he'll automatically do life in prison, and that's just too much. The jury's only job is to find him guilty or not guilty on the charges that were presented by the court, by the judge. That's it. It is not their job to weigh in, oh, if I find him guilty on this, he'll get 20 years, or 10 years versus life in prison. So that's not the jury's job at all. That's not the jury's job. And then also, last but not least, where are all his celebrity friends? Where are all his character witnesses and things like that? Ask yourself that. Where are all these people that should have his back? Because it doesn't seem like these people are coming. Now, Kanye did come to court, but I feel like Kanye only came to promote his music because he did a song with Christian and to basically low-key intimidate Jane Doe. But outside of Kanye, where's Carisha? Where are all these people who claim to be, you know, Diddy supporters? He's basically out there by himself. Okay, so let me see. Are they saying that the verdict has been reached? Okay. I'm still not seeing anything. I'm refreshing. But I definitely think there will be a guilty verdict. So I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. But thank you guys for joining me on this stream. I'm going to get up and out. Okay, they sent a note. Okay, gotta go, y'all. Gotta go. But thank y'all for joining me this morning. I hope you guys enjoyed this stream. Please hit the like button. I will see you guys in just a bit. Bye, y'all.